Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches producing big time results. On behalf of myself, Coach Gage Rozier, and co-host Coach Preston Peterson, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's show. Before we get to today's episode, I'd like to recognize our amazing sponsors who allow us to bring this podcast to you for free. Our first sponsor is TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr is the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate over 13 reports, and even train athletes remotely for side income. Right now, if you sign up with code BIGTIME, you will receive a free APRE programming template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. Automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with TeamBuildr. Thank you to Hewitt and staff at TeamBuildr for their continued support. They do an amazing job. Our second sponsor is Optimum Nutrition Athletics. Athletes train hard to play at the highest level, and all that hard work raises the bar on muscle recovery. Optimum Nutrition's athletics program has industry-leading products that can help. Protein is key to muscle recovery, and Gold Standard 100% Whey, the world's best-selling whey protein powder, provides 24 grams of protein that mixes easily just using a spoon and a glass. Gold Standard 100% Whey is made in Optimum Nutrition's state-of-the-art facilities in Aurora, Illinois, and is banned substance tested by Informed Choice. Through Optimum Nutrition's athletic program, you can also get Pro Gainer for big athletes looking to become even bigger, and ready-to-eat protein snacks including Protein Crisp bars, cake bites, wafers, and almonds. After dominating the sports nutrition industry for over 30 years, newly created Optimum Nutrition Athletics brings that same trust and quality that knows how to put convenient options for protein in the hands of athletes who desire to become bigger, stronger, and better at their sport. If you'd like more information and free samples, email Derek Walters, Director of Optimum Nutrition Athletics, whose email and contact information you can find in the show notes. Once again, thank you so much to our amazing sponsors for their continued support. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, episode number 59. Really appreciate you tuning in. We have a great young coach on today, Coach John Hammersmith. He is the head strength conditioning coach at Ferris State University. And Coach has a lot of great content for us in this episode. I think he's doing an amazing job, sounds like, there at Ferris. And man, he's at a great spot. Ferris State is they're competitive in a lot of sports. Sounds like they got a lot of new things coming along the way. And the football team is number one in the country pre-ranked this season. So really, really excited for Coach this season. Hope they have a great year and maybe get a shot at a national title. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're liking this show, please share, comment, share it with a friend you think they might like it. Spread the word on what we're trying to do here on the Big Time Strength Podcast. All right, guys, let's get right to today's episode. Coach John Hammersmith. Enjoy. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for joining us here on the Big Time Strength Podcast. Get us rolling here and talk a little bit about your journey through strength conditioning so far and where you're at right now.
All right. Well, Coach, first off, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity for bringing me on. It's a definite honor. So to start things off, I was graduated from the University of Findlay. I played football there. When I got into strength and conditioning, it was more or less in high school. I started loving the aspect of training for the sports for myself. When I was at Findlay, that was kind of my highlight. I actually really enjoyed the training and the conditioning aspect of playing a sport in college rather than playing a sport, which is probably why I'm in the profession now. But my senior year, I started volunteering with the strength staff there. So whatever they really needed, I'd come in early mornings, help out wherever the coaches needed help with, running stations, drills, whatnot, keeping the weight room maintenance up. So I did that for my entire senior year. When I got done, I went to Bowling Green State University. I worked there for 2 years. I actually worked under two different staffs at that time. So my first summer I was there, I didn't have any teams. I basically helped out wherever the coaches needed it, especially for football. And then once the summer passed and then the fall passed, that staff left. They went to Wake Forest, and then a new staff came in. So when the new strength coach came in, he assigned me 8 different teams to work with. So I was in charge of 8 sports at the university. So for the year and a half that I was remaining there, I did all the training for those sports and obviously helped out with football. And finished out the year the year and a half I was there. When I was done, I went on to Central Missouri as a graduate assistant. I worked there for 2 years. I was in charge of baseball and wrestling, and then I helped out with football and the rest of the sports whenever the coaches needed. And once I finished up my 2 years there, I went to the University of Notre Dame for the summer. I actually was only there for about half the summer. I got a call interview for the job I'm currently at now, Ferris State University, and I got the job after I had the interview and the on-campus interview and whatnot. So I took the job, so I had to leave Notre Dame, and I came here. So, where I'm at right now, this is going on my third fall. So, I'm third time into the university. So I've been here for that long and kind of been rolling since then. So.
Well, that's a really good background, Coach, and something really stands out to me is just your willingness to volunteer. I mean, it sounds like you spent 2 years at Bowling Green. And just curious, what's your first thought when new guy comes in and says, "All right, you got these 8 teams, go"? Yeah, how did you handle that?
To be honest with you, I was excited, because this was something in terms of the profession. This is something that I wanted to do from the get-go ever since I was in college playing football. So when I finally got that opportunity, I took every single advantage of it. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to be an assistant to the coaches or to the strength coaches. I wanted to be, as much involved with the staff and as much as I can with all the training and get as much experience as I can. So when that opportunity rose, I jumped right on that and just got things moving. So it was a blessing when that happened. So.
Well, that's a great way to approach it. You're always preparing for that next position, and it's got to where you're at right now. And we were talking before the show. You're at Ferris State, and it's one of the top D2 athletic departments in the country, competitive-wise, obviously. So let's get into that a little bit and maybe talk about one of the toughest hurdles you've had at Ferris State or maybe in a previous position, and how have you overcome some of those challenges?
So I would say when I got to Ferris, once I got hired on, my job entailed working directly with all the training aspects for 15 sports. And I basically just had, and it was all on me, so I didn't have anybody helping me out or telling me, giving me advice at that time, in a sense, basically at the school. So it was my job on my own to schedule all the teams, to get them into the facility, making sure that I have good flow, that I'm not overlapping guys or teams, just trying to make everything smooth. Trying to give the coach, obviously talking with each sport coach and talking about what kind of goals they want or what they want out of the team. So then all my training tries to be designed around what their ultimate goals are. So I had to work with that. I didn't have, I still don't, for the most part, have a staff right now. So basically just riding on my own, trying to figure everything out, trying to do everything on my own. I think that was definitely the biggest task or the biggest thing to overcome. When I was in my first year, I did have some volunteer help. I did have an intern who was there for me and helped me out. He did a tremendous job. But unfortunately, he left. But in the end, it was a better opportunity for him. So he left my second semester, so I was kind of on my own with things. And from that, I don't say I was discouraged because obviously I want everybody to have an opportunity to keep moving forward. It just helped me grow. It just helped me learn how to be a coach riding solo on this. How would I take command of an entire group? How would I assemble them in the weight room, or where to put them on racks? what they're trying to do, make sure they're doing the right weights, and, just having a better set of eyes, seeing the entire room by myself. So those things, in the end, like I said, it was a blessing just because it helped me grow so much more as a coach. So I would definitely say that would be probably the biggest thing that I had to overcome the time that I'm here right now.
Well, I love your mindset on that because I was in a pretty similar situation when I got here at William Jewell College, and luckily, thanks to the administration, they've allowed me to have a GA, which has been spectacular. But just that mindset you have to use it as a chance to get better and to learn and to grow as a coach, and because if you ever get to a situation and you want to and you only have two teams, it's gonna be so much easier. So I love your approach on that.
Yeah, I know. If that opportunity ever comes where where I'm at a place where they're like, yeah, you only, so you'll have these X amount of teams, I'll be like, oh, that's nothing. I'll be able to write.
Yeah, you'll be ready to roll. So, all right, let's get into a little bit of training. How are you training your athletes there? You got 15 teams, and basically just you. What is your training philosophy with your athletes there at Ferris?
So basically, to put it in a nutshell, in terms of my job, is to basically make the best physical specimen possible. So what I want to do is make sure that from every sport that my players are big enough, strong enough, durable enough, explosive enough, basically all the physical attributes to make them physically and mentally prepared to play their position at the college level. In a nutshell, that's what my philosophy is for all my teams. Is basically just getting them ready so that they can play their position at the collegiate level.
Well, I can attest to the fact that you're doing a pretty good job at that because you guys came down here to William Jewell last year and you checked all those boxes. You were pretty physical specimens. You were strong enough, durable enough, and you guys had a spectacular season. So, what kind of programming methodologies, or whatever you want to call it, what are some of those things that you're following that you really like and have had some success with? Excuse me.
It's me being at all these different places, with all these internships and stuff like that. It's helped me just be a sponge through those times. So it kind of helped me basically fit my own mold, just kind of what I want to do with my guys. So in particular, I don't follow an exact training method in a sense. Like an example with football this summer, we did a conjugate method in the weight room. Then obviously our conditioning was a little different in a sense, but we did a conjugate method with our guys. We went 4 days a week doing a dynamic effort and a maximal effort day 2 times a week. But in season, especially with a lot of my teams, I follow a variation of a tier. So obviously when I worked at BG, Coach E he taught me that method or that training style, and I actually fell in love with it because it just covers everything. So like when football goes in season, the vets will lift about 3 times a week is what my plan is, and each time they come in, it's just going to be a full body movement, making sure that we hit a core movement, an upper body push, upper body pull, shoulder, posterior chain, and single leg. It's simple, but it gets the job done, and it just covers everything. So that's kind of a system I'll follow. But like I said, I dabble into almost everything. There's in the off season with our guys. In one off season, my first year, I just did a straight linear progression with the guys. We did an upper lower split for 4 days. So I changed it up. I still took the tier system in effect, just making sure even on our lower days that we were just covering every part of the lower body, and then vice versa with the upper body. So it just, like I said, just kind of depending on the season, but for the most part, like I said, I follow the tier during the season, just making sure that I cover everything. And now I'm actually going to be kind of changing up a little bit of the training during camp with our guys. We'll still follow a tier in terms of all their auxiliaries, but their main movements I'm actually kind of splitting up. I'm going to have my bigs, mids, and skills basically doing different core movements each time. One, just because I want to just keep the variety different. I know the guys will definitely enjoy that. Just kind of excited to see what their training's going to be like when they come in today versus coming in on the next day. So like I said, I might do. I'm kind of doing like a variation of what the cube method was from Brandon Lilly when he wrote the speed, rep, and heavy day. So I'm going to be kind of implementing that in a sense for our core movements. So example would be for our heavy day. Obviously in camp, I don't want to be, and during the season, I don't want to be loading them like crazy, but I will load them enough to make it, in a sense, I would call it camp or in-season heavy for them. But I might just be having them do box squats, so they're just not taking so much so much of an effect on their central nervous system. I might have heavy trap bar, the mids, just so we can load those and just put them in a higher position, so it doesn't take too much out of them from doing a regular straight bar, and then having the skills do front squats, and then just have those guys going, and then get them out of the racks, and then get them going to their auxiliaries. So that's something I'm actually going to be trying to do once we start camp.
And talk to me a little bit, Coach, just to give our listeners a little bit of a background. We talked before a little bit about your room, and you've got, I think you said around 2,100 square feet, something like that, 7 racks. So, you know, with the football team's got 100 guys in it, in camp especially, or I guess all in season at all times. How do you structure that coming in? Are the bigs, medium, smalls, are they coming in at different times to structure that, or is you kind of a mixed bag within groups, or how are you going to structure that variation within those lifts?
So once we start, I know for camp, the first day we're going to have to split it. The only way that we can do it for the coach's sake and just for the sake of meetings and practice, we're going to have to split it offense and defense. So granted, that's still going to be about 60 guys for each group, so it's going to be a pretty clustered in there. But after that, after our first day, and then once we roll through the rest of camp, it should be smooth sailing because we're going to kind of split it a little bit position-wise, like kind of with DBs, linebackers, D-line in one group, offensive line, wide receivers, quarterbacks in another, and just kind of make it a little less condensed, and just so it makes the flow a little bit better. But once the season starts, we'll have roughly about 4 football groups. Just kind of depends. I'm kind of seeing. I'm still kind of, I guess, in a sense, overviewing it just to see how it's gonna actually look. But the system that I started doing has actually made it a lot easier for me now. Since we got some new, a little bit of new equipment, makes it a little bit easier. But so basically, when I get the guys coming in, we're going to have a volleyball court, or we do have a volleyball court next door to us that has a lot of space. So what I'm going to be doing now is taking those guys in there, doing their warm-ups, all their activation stuff. They'll jog into the weight room and start getting on the racks. So a system that I found to do is actually from when I was a graduate assistant at Central Missouri. I talked with Coach Davis over there, and he used to do a lot of this with his basketball team, but he would have the guys on the racks and have them warm up, and once they were all ready to go, the first guy on each rack would get their first set on the bar, and he would say, first set, go, hit the whistle. So everybody on the rack, let's say they had about 6 racks going and 3 guys to a rack, he'd hit the whistle for the first guy. They hit their set racket, change their weight, second guy hit the whistle, and so on and so forth. So that's a system I started doing too. I just found it to just be so efficient and less time consuming. And it just makes it easier to see, instead of you're watching one guy on the rack do something and the other guy might just sneak in there and get his set in and you didn't see it. So doing that kind of style just lets me see everybody, and it gets everybody out of the rack so much faster. So I had, when I first started, obviously I had all the guys in the racks. My skill guys would get out of the racks, in season about 15 minutes. And sometimes my bigs would take 30, 40 minutes at a time, so they didn't have time all doing their other stuff. So I was like, you know what, we're going to do it this way. And ever since then, they'd all get out of the racks, they'd all be done, they could move to their auxiliary lifts, and then that would just cut my time in half. I'm telling you, it was insane. Like what took an hour took maybe 30 minutes.
Nice.
They'd get out of the rack and they'd have another 15 to hit all their auxiliaries and get to their foam rolling and all their recovery stuff for the end of the lift. So it's definitely been a big change for me.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Coach, because that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is because we're all stuck in similar situations where you got one guy and that many groups to flow in there, and we all kind of know, I think, for the most part, what we should be doing and how we want it done or whatever, but it's how you execute it and organize it, like you talked through right there, is just makes everything, in my opinion.
It's like in a perfect world, if we all had the facilities that we wanted, the equipment, the space, we could obviously do everything that we've wanted to a T, but that doesn't always happen for us. So we obviously have to compromise and make things better for the team, necessarily not for us. What's going to make it better and more efficient for our guys rather than make it easier for us.
Right.
So I definitely would.
Perfect. So, Coach, tell me a little bit about what's next for you there at Ferris State, and what's your vision for your program in the next 5 years?
Well, when I first got here, I was the first strength coach that got hired on the university. Right now they've had a hockey strength coach here ever since the early 2000s. So he's been here rolling with those guys. So technically, with me, being hired on and working with all the teams, it was basically trying to get something started. So it started from just getting guys into a system, and now it's starting to build more. I think that in the future, what I want to see is making this a very successful department. Eventually, I know we're trying to build a new facility. We don't know I don't know the details exactly as to when that's going to happen, but once that gets done, that's just going to set so much, the standard so much higher, and hopefully at those times we can start bringing in assistants or GAs and interns, kind of building a strength and conditioning program where I bring in young individuals, young coaches who want experience and want to get into the field and help them move forward, help them become better coaches and then move on to bigger and better things. So in my eyes, that's what I'm looking for the most, just building a successful strength and conditioning department here at the university.
Well, that's a big task, and I'm sure you're gonna kill it as you move forward here. How about you personally? What are you excited about just learning and developing as a coach moving forward?
Well, like I said, I'm learning every day. I am nowhere near the smartest strength coach out there by any means. So for me, from what I've learned here, it has helped me grow. Obviously, just being by myself, staying active with all the coaches that I've worked for, going to conferences and stuff like that, just keeping my education up because I just want to keep learning more. So like an example, what I said before, I still talk with almost all my strength coaches that I've worked for in the past almost every week, just seeing how things are going, and they'll be like, oh, Hammer, I just tried this new method out, or this new exercise, or this new style. It did this for me. It worked out great. And I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I could try that too and see how it goes. So it's just constantly every single day learning something because every day I can continue to keep learning, and that's what it takes to be good at this profession, because you got to be a sponge even at this stage in my life, being a sponge, being humble, learning from the best out there who's been doing it for so long, and just trying to mold myself into being the best strength coach I can be.
That's great advice, Coach, and I really appreciate you joining me here today, and this has been fantastic. So let's wrap this thing up and just give 4 quick questions here. Just kind of answer first thing comes to the top of your head.
Okay.
First one here. What is your favorite office snack?
Oh, I would have to say, I got to go with protein shake, man. That's kind of my quick go-to if I'm just sitting down in the office and kind of moving around. Just take a protein shake and roll. Because usually what I'll do is I'll get my lift in and take a shake and then just move on to the next group or whatever's coming through. So I would definitely say that.
Cool. What's the best piece of coaching advice you've ever received?
I would say staying humble and keeping an open mind to everything in training. You always know that you're not going to be you're not going to know everything. There's always going to be coaches out there that know more than you. So I think just keeping an open mind and continue learning. That's probably my best advice that I've gotten.
Good, love it. You got 15 minutes to train, workout. What are you doing yourself?
Oh, squats for sure.
Good. Any particular back squat? Okay. Last one, Coach. Small school strength coach that you know who's killing it and you think deserves a shout out.
Give a shout out to Coach Davis over at Central Missouri, the head strength coach.
Perfect.
I would definitely give him.
Yeah, Tyler's a good dude. I know him a little bit as well. So, all right, Coach, this has been, again, awesome. I really appreciate you taking your time. It's that time of the year where we're all starting to ramp up again. The guys are getting back on campus. So really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and good luck moving forward. And you guys are ranked preseason number 1, are going to have a spectacular year. So good luck with everything, Coach, and keep those guys healthy and strong and resilient, all those stuff you talked about, and we'll catch up soon.
Well, Coach, I appreciate all those kind words, and it's an honor. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this.